Thanks for tuning in to the Ohio Afterschool Network podcast, bringing the power of the network right to your ears. The Ohio Afterschool Network is a convener, a connector, a collective voice, and a catalyst for change in the out-of-school time field. The Ohio Afterschool Network leverages our statewide and national partnerships for you, our supporters and members, and brings funding and resources back to Ohio. OAN is the real deal, and that's the power of the network. To find out more about OAN, please visit oanohio.org. Hey everybody, it's Nichelle from the Ohio Afterschool Network today. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be talking with the amazing Angie Cameron from Youngstown State University. Angie's the director of the Center for Human Services Development at YSU, and she's also an adjunct faculty member in the School of Counseling, School Psychology, and Educational Leadership. And in her spare time, she's also the president of the Eastern Ohio Counseling Association, a very busy woman who has taken a little bit of her time out today to talk to us. So, Angie, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here today and to talk a little bit about how your role at YSU intersects with the after school and summer learning world. So welcome.
Thanks a lot, Nichelle. It's great to be here.
So let's go ahead and get started, Angie, a little bit. Tell us about the Bridges Out of Poverty program.
So Bridges Out of Poverty is a framework that was developed by Ruby Payne, and she had developed this with Phil Duvall and Terry Juicy Smith, and this framework provides a perspective from the lenses of people who are living in poverty, middle class, and wealth, and it takes the social classes and kind of breaks them down and gives us an idea of how those of us living in each of the social classes have different perspectives and a different way to see the world. We all have that understanding that we see the world from different viewpoints, but this kind of takes a look at how that socioeconomic status and that social class puts that perspective into place based upon our quote-unquote tribes. Right. And so through this framework, the participants who take the Bridges Out of Poverty course, so to speak, the training, they're able to understand how society has hidden rules that we all follow and how going through every day we use those hidden rules. And when we're placed in unfamiliar situations, our rules can get us in trouble. We think we're following our own rules, but when we're in that situation where our rules don't apply and we're following somebody else's hidden rules, then we kind of trip over our own 2 feet. So Bridges really provides us a guideline to understand what some of those hidden rules may be in varying social classes. And Bridges Out of Poverty also provides us the opportunity to help navigate those hidden rules and help others navigate our hidden rules, and provides us situations with which we're unfamiliar and how to kind of walk through that unfamiliarity and how to build the social and capital resources so we can be successful in that environment that we're not familiar.
Wow. So for those of us that are out here working with kids in out-of-school time settings, maybe in communities that we don't live in, or maybe in dealing with families with cultures that we're not super familiar with, this would be really valuable.
Oh, absolutely. In growing up, we all grow up in different situations. I joke, up here in Northeast Ohio, I moved here by marriage, and I had spent part of my childhood in Cincinnati, and just even that 5-hour difference is just really an amazing culture shift, and understanding that even though I was only 5 hours away for a portion of my childhood, the things that the culture does up here is completely different than the things that the culture is down there. And so even within our own state, if we live 15 minutes away, it can be a completely different culture. And just understanding those hidden rules and those guidelines that are the people and the families, the students, even the schools that we're serving, how different they are from what our lenses and our perceptions and our expectations should be. How we place that on our students and our families to say, well, you should be doing this. Well, that might be our expectation based off of our social class and our hidden rules, and not really understanding what their social class is or their hidden rules are. That's where the conflict arises, and Bridges helps kind of bridge that.
Yeah. I'm sort of curious about, I'm always curious about background and sort of what motivates people to do the things that they do and get involved in this type of work. And it sounds like that move maybe was the underlying impetus for you really wanting to grab a hold of this. And I'm wondering if there's anything else besides that in your life that made you be interested in this type of work and training.
Oh, absolutely. My entire journey, as everyone else's, is not a straight line. Mm-hmm. And the fact that when people take a look at me, they think that they see, this Caucasian, blonde hair person, and they know, where the background that I came from and everything like that. And, I was very privileged growing up. I was not in a poverty situation, and I was very fortunate with that. But one of the things that really kind of, I guess, inspired me was looking at the students who I was around and those who were struggling, both from my childhood, but especially once I got to Ohio University, where I did my undergraduate degree. Mm-hmm. I focused on my bachelor's degrees in sociology with an emphasis on criminology, and my program was more of a preventative behavioral, looking at how behaviors are forms of communication, and how can we prevent, those non-academic barriers to education. And so that's kind of something I've pounded my fists and stamped my feet about for the last umpteen years, was just the simple fact that these kids don't care about the pencil and math class because of different things that are happening to them personally. And that's more the tyranny of the moment, as Bridges talks about, like, I need to survive right now. I don't care that I don't have a pencil for math class. So when I was at Ohio University, I really saw that, and I did one of my internships in a minimum security juvenile detention center in Nelsonville, and I was working with 16-year-olds at a second grade reading level, and we would have conversations about how their girlfriends got pregnant because they didn't know. They thought, well, she ate something, or they physically didn't understand the physicality of how their girlfriends got pregnant. And they're reading at a second grade level, and they're coming from areas of extreme poverty and very few resources. And so, that's kind of been my drive ever since. And no matter how often I try and get away or say, I'm ready for a change, I'm burnt out, right, it draws me back.
Yeah. And I can understand that draw to serve others and just, those types of compelling stories. One thing I was thinking about while you were saying that is, not just those types of barriers, but also like the opioid crisis that's happening now in Ohio, and particularly in Northeast Ohio. You want to speak to that a little bit using the Bridges lens? Yeah.
So part of my training is that I am a licensed professional school counselor in the state of Ohio, and I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor in the state of Ohio. And before coming here to YSU as the director of the Center for Human Services Development, I actually was a counselor at a drug and alcohol agency here locally, and my clientele was the children of the adults who were impacted or in recovery from opioid addiction, and really trying to understand, my child is acting up. Well, yes, you changed the rules on them. You're sober now. They're different rules. And having them understand, what was going on and preventative means and interventions so that they didn't follow the same paths as their parents and things like that. But one of the things was that the agency, and I had been trained in Bridges prior, the agency was a huge advocate in understanding that, look, our clients are coming from a completely different situation. As a licensed therapist in the state of Ohio, you have a master's degree, which means you are looking to move ahead, you're looking to attain. But our clients are looking to survive. So when they miss their appointment because they've been on the bus for the last 3 hours or in a taxi to come up to get their medicine to block the opioid receptors, they've been in a taxi for 3 or 4 hours to come up and take their medicine to drive back 3 or 4 hours every single day.
Wow.
And they miss their appointment because of traffic or weather or the taxi was behind. Like, we've got to have some sort of empathy and understanding that we need to conform to their ability or their culture a little bit more than them kind of conforming to what we need. Yes, we need to set healthy boundaries and set those rules and help them transform into maybe a middle class setting, but we also need to have a little bit of empathy to say, man, I don't know that I could run the bus system the way they do.
Right.
And so having that perspective just kind of allow the entire agency and the entire culture to say, all right, this is what we're going to do so that we can help them be successful. And up here in Northeast Ohio, that opioid crisis, it's just astronomical.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's crippling. And we see, a lot of kids that we work with in after school, summer learning, youth development settings. We see them embroiled in this, and we see the results of that. So let's look at it through the after school provider lens. If you're a provider and you're working with kids, what value do you think this training would be to help people in those types of situations?
Oh, I think this training is absolutely valuable. So a lot of our organizations, especially our school districts, and a lot of even nonprofit grassroots organizations are coming from, and even the agency that I used to work for is coming from that middle class model that this is the time you set your appointment, you need to come. If you don't come, then I'm going to have to move on and you're going to have to reschedule. School districts are the same way. It's through no fault of their own. I mean, this is just the way that society is. But, you need to bring your, like I said, pencil to math class in order to take your test, in order to be successful, in order to graduate, in order to pursue higher education so that you can become a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever it is that you want to do. And so what Bridges does is it takes that framework or that perception lens and says, okay, I'm in poverty and I'm looking at, I don't care about the pencil because my mom was turning tricks last night in order to get money to feed her drug habit. And because she's gone all night, I gotta stay half awake so I can either one, listen for her to come home, or 2, I can make sure nobody's coming in the house, or 3, I need to get up early to make sure that my younger siblings get off to school okay.
Right.
I need to make sure that there's food in the house. So right now I don't really care about the pencil and math class, and I don't care about graduating because I'm more worried about whether or not I'm going to get dinner tonight and how I'm going to take care of my siblings because, the electric got shut off, by the way, because Mom didn't pay the electric bill.
Wow.
So Bridges kind of gives that perspective of all 3, situations or all 3 classes and taking a situation and kind of walking it through each one.
And I assume you've offered this to your staff before?
We do it every year.
Every year, yeah, great.
Every year.
What's their feedback on this?
Once my staff goes through it, I tell them that, you're always welcome to sit in again and hear it again. You don't have to, but I have staff who sit in it year after year after year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Every time you hear it, because there are different people in the room and different concepts, or maybe you're able to relate to a different child that you're struggling with right now, or a different family situation. So we do it quite often.
Even different skills that you're trying to develop as a person that's connecting with a family or kids in the community. At different times you need different tools from your toolbox to be able to really help them, and just getting a brush up on this I think would be helpful. Just keep it fresh in your mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you're